Thank you, Bob. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started, and Steve can join us afterwards. So the first order of business, I'll declare that at 7:02, the meeting is adjourned. And the first order.
It's not adjourned.
Well, I don't mean adjourned. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, Brad.
It's called to order.
Meeting is called to order. Yes, it's been a long day. This is my third such meeting today. So the meeting's called to order at 7:02, and the first order of business is to review our agenda, make any necessary changes.
Lynn,
Yeah.
could I just break in here? And in the past couple of weeks, we've lost 3 people in town that I know of. 2 of them I grew up with growing up here in Danby. And could we have a moment of silence for the 2 that I've got on my list? And I think Brad has got one also, but I'd like to have a moment of silence for our assistant town clerk, Colette. Her husband, Johnny, passed away the beginning of the week. And he's been my next door neighbor while growing up. And then after I got back from the service, he's been my neighbor here for the last 50 years. And also for Patrick Belden. I grew up with him down in Fishville, and that's Tracy Belden's older brother. So and Brad, I think you've got somebody.
And Kathy,
Please.
Kathy Keys. I was going to say Kathy Keeler, and I knew that was not right. But Kathy Keys was a very, very lovely woman. I always enjoyed being at breakfast with her at the Sunnyside Cafe, and she was a very active member of the Danby Mount Tabor Volunteer Fire Department, Women's Auxiliary, just always a smile on her face and a very, very helpful neighbor, concerned citizen, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that will greatly miss her.
Yeah, thank you both for bringing up those passings. They're significant passings for our community, and it's nice to recognize them. Perhaps we can have a moment of silence for them. And while we're doing that, I'm working on getting Steve on the line with us. So we'll have a moment until I get back. Okay, so hopefully we're going to get Steve on here in just a minute. I think he may have just joined. Is that caller 01?
I don't know what caller it is.
Yeah, Bob can't put a name on you, but we know you're 01, and we'll put you down as such. So Steve is with us. That's great. So we are now all here. And Steve, you did miss us to having a moment of silence for three great citizens who have passed this week. And it's nice to acknowledge people who've done so much for the town and who are our neighbors and our friends. So thank you, Paul and Brad, for doing that. That's great. Our first order of business tonight is to review our agenda and make any necessary changes. Does anybody have any to suggest?
I don't have none. I'm fine with it.
I would, I think.
I'll make the motion that we accept it as written.
So I would just say that the request from the town clerk has been withdrawn because circumstances overcame that. That was a request in terms of some leave time for Colette to take care of her husband, and he has passed. So that request is sort of outdated at this point. So let's remove that from the agenda, if that's okay.
Okay with me.
Do you want to make a motion to accept it with that amendment?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Doug, and who seconded? Steve?
Yes.
Great. All right, we need to do roll call vote. So Paul?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Lynn, yes. Okay. So moving on in our agenda is the review and approve our previous minutes. I sent 3 out. They were our regular minutes of October 8th, our special meeting minutes of the 21st of October and the 29th. If anybody'd like to lump those all together, it's fine. Or if anybody has any comments or wants to separate them, that's fine. I'll be happy to hear anything.
Do them all together.
Okay, so that was Doug?
Yes.
A motion to approve
I'll
all.
second it.
That was
I made the
Paul.
motion.
So I have Doug making a motion to approve all the minutes and Paul seconding. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion? Not hearing any, I'll call the vote. So Paul,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Lynn, yes. Okay. So moving on, the next up, Hillary, is you. So Hillary is our guest tonight from Pulteney Meadowy Natural Resource Conservation District, and she's going to give us a talk. I did try to send out the presentation she's going to use to everybody so they could follow along, but Hillary, I can't promise that people have that in front of them. So, so you're forewarned.
Okay, and it sounds like it would be it would be difficult to make me the presenter to show my screen.
Well, there's very few of us who are on to see your screen, so most of the other select board members can't see it. So, but they do have it in their inbox, and they should follow along. Yeah.
But that's helpful. So I'll try and use descriptive words.
Perfect.
So I apologize to Bob and Shelley because you've heard some of this at least before, but I do actually already have an update for you. So I'm going to give the presentation so the select board can hear it, and then I'll go into my update. So I'm with the Pulteney Meadowy Natural Resources Conservation District. I know I've spoken to you in the past, but it's been a while. We work in 5 program areas: agricultural, water quality, forest lands, projects, stormwater, education and outreach, and watershed assessments. We do that work. We specifically do that work in the western 1/3 of Danby, the Flower Brook and Meadowy watersheds, which is the Kelly Hill Road, Green Road, and Little Village Road area. But our agricultural work is in cooperation with the Rutland and Bennington Conservation Districts, and we operate in all of Rutland and Bennington counties, working with local farms. So the project that I'm talking about, the sort of overarching project I'm talking about tonight, is a watershed-wide flood resilience project in the Flower Brook watershed. So the very steep headwaters of that watershed are in Danby, but Flower Brook eventually joins the Meadowy River in Pollitt. And a lot of gravel comes from Danby and also from Pollitt. It ends up in the brook in the village of Pollitt, which causes a lot of flooding issues, for the houses directly in the village. We have been working on quite a few projects. We've been working on this sort of overarching flood resilience project for, we're going into our 5th year now. We have completed a number of projects, and I included in the survey is a map that shows where those projects have occurred and gives a description of the projects. They include things like we identified a number of projects, stormwater projects in the village of Pollitt, and we have implemented a couple of them. In addition to the ones we've implemented sort of formally, the town of Pollitt has implemented a number of those on their own. There have been tree plantings to stabilize stream banks. We've identified quite a few gullies or areas in the watershed where the streams have eroded so badly that they've formed deep ditches, which of course contributes to very negative water quality, a lot of nutrients headed toward Lake Champlain, which you know is a big problem, and a lot of sediment headed toward Pollitt, which is also sort of a more local problem. So we've stabilized, well, we actually, at this point that I had written this, I wrote that we had 8 identified and 1 stabilized, but now we have 11 identified and 4 stabilized. So we made a lot of progress in the last couple of weeks, actually working with a couple of landowners in Danby. We've been looking at, we identified some roads projects up on these roads I'm talking about, Little Village Road especially, and Green Hill Road, and it sounds like we'll be working with the town to get those implemented. It sounds like the select board had maybe received some complaints also about one of these areas. And the landowner had done some work to help collect some gravel on his own property, and I took a water quality sample above and below that little treatment. I don't know if you guys have all seen it. I know Lynn's been up there. There's just a little pitch.
Yeah, just let me interrupt. So Paul, that's the one
Okay.
you and I saw together that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, that little ditch that landowner dug to collect sediment, the phosphorus levels in the water on the downstream side of that ditch were half the concentration of the phosphorus coming into that ditch. So it just shows that these little projects, you know, if we can get enough of these little projects installed, we can actually make a pretty big difference in Lake Champlain, as well as collecting all this gravel as it works from our roads, you know, down toward the rivers. And then we just got some funds to work on driveways. Driveways is a category that there is no funding to help homeowners improve their drainage on their driveways. There's no technical assistance for homeowners, at least from the state, to work on their driveways. So we did get a grant. It took 3 tries because nobody wanted to fund work on driveways. It's sort of seen as a problem that's the landowner's problem. But we wanted to try and do some example like stormwater work on driveways, and then have it, you know, people can drive by and look, or they could come by on the day that we're installing the projects. And we'll be doing those on a couple of driveways on Little Village Road, hopefully next summer. And then we did some forest block outreach. So we looked at the forest block. There's a really high quality forest block on Mount Hogue. Not that many landowners. Everybody owns quite a bit of land. So we've been working with about half the landowners and stabilizing their forest roads. And I'd love to continue working with the other half. So that's what we have done. And then I have a list in the survey. I have a list of all the project types that we, as the conservation district at least, could work on. And it includes a few more things like wetland conservation and just sort of general like infiltrating water across the watershed. And then the categories I already spoke about. So I'll ask you guys kind of what you would like to see us focus on. Part of the survey is trying to gather some information for us as we move forward and try and prioritize our time to help you in a way that you see as most beneficial. Let's see, I just want to make sure I'm covering everything here.
Hillary, let me interrupt. This is the survey that you had left at the town clerk's office. Is that correct?
Yes, and I forwarded that to you later in the day. It's a forward from Barbara, which is the final copy, which is the copy that went to the town clerk. So you can pick up a copy of the survey at the town clerk's office, I think, right, Lynn? Are there some there?
Well, Janice sent them up with me today, and I didn't realize what they were. So they're all at my house, unfortunately, but I'll bring those back tomorrow. But I could send, so if you sent that to me, I can send it out electronically to everybody, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should also go.
You can either, sorry, you can either.
Should also go to
ahead.
commission members.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll get it to everybody.
I emailed it out to Planning Commission and now Select Board has it, but I can resend it. I think Barbara will resend it eventually. And you can either, like, if you want to be anonymous, you know, you can drop it at the town clerk's office and I can come and pick up a packet of them, or you can just email them back to me. So whatever is easiest for people or sort of fits their privacy needs
Let me just,
is totally
let me
fine.
just ask, Shelley, did you get it? Shelley?
Yes, I have it in electronics, yes.
Okay, great. So we're sure this planning commission has it. That's super. That's good. Okay. I was afraid that when I got all the copies that it dead ended with me. So I was worried about that. Okay.
So the piece that's shifting a little bit, we're continuing the project for the next at least year, if not a little bit longer. And of course, we'll continue this work. But the High Meadows Fund, which is funding kind of our outreach effort, they would like to see maybe a more integrated sort of an advisory committee that helps us make some of these decisions. And so we had worked a couple of years ago with some folks, certainly from Danby, including Shelley and Hilda Fiskanes and Charlie Bush. And we would love, it sounds like that Shelley and Hilda are willing to help us again. We'd love to have somebody from planning or select board, and we would love to have somebody involved in some way with roads. I think because roads are such a big piece of, you know, they really need to be considered in terms of reducing gravel inputs to the Flower Brook. And then we're taking a little bit different shift. We're looking a little bit, because a lot of these problems are exacerbated by the changes in rainfall that we're seeing and the, you know, sort of continued more powerful storms. So we'd like to look at climate change and just, again, trying to meet the needs of Danby in terms of what you guys are interested in focusing on. Sort of look at some planning maybe related to climate change. So we can show you sort of specifically what we're seeing out in the field. You guys can report back to us what you're seeing and the sort of concerns that might be arising from additional erosion or, you know, maybe more conflicts between streams and roads because of these storms. So we're going to go through sort of a data collection and sharing, and then also trying to kind of focus efforts. I know when we talked to the Planning Commission, they said that one of the things they might be interested in is kind of focusing on recreation. So maybe there are more opportunities for mountain biking and hiking and not quite as many for skiing, and just trying to sort of make sure that if there are opportunities, you know, I'm a little more focused on water quality, but certainly hiking trails and mountain bike trails are a pretty good fit for water quality. So if there's any overlap with things that the other groups are interested in, that would be really helpful for us to know. I think that's it for the committee or for that project, but I wanted to give you a Purchase Brook culvert update too. So if anybody from the board wants to be on the advisory committee, we'd love to have, you know, more voices.
I have a question.
Okay.
I notice in Paulet and the mill pond there, after any high water event, how all of the gravel builds up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard your comment about the little ditch that somebody built. Would it be worth exploring somewhere in Danby on Flower Brook to create a pond that would act as a settling pond when these high water events take place?
So yes, I mean, yes, I love that idea. The state is really, really finicky about what they let you do in streams, but I think you're hitting on the idea, which is that we need to figure out how to keep the sediment back up in the headwaters and not let it go quite as quickly into the village.
Right,
so
or even perhaps a series of small ones.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we're trying to look at, we put in another grant to do some assessment looking at floodplain access. There's some really great examples along Flower Brook where it can flood into the floodplain. It drops a ton of sediment there, and so do the tributaries coming off the hillside. So similar to what you're talking about, if we could have these tributaries coming off the hillside, you know, make sure that they can access their floodplain, that they don't have berms or they haven't been incised or become too deep to get to their floodplain. That could do what you're saying and still meet the state's needs to not let us be in the brook doing things. They're pretty strict about it right now. Like the pendulum is very, very far to the don't touch the brook side of things.
Oh, I know that.
I know. But yeah, that's exactly it. We want to stop the gravel from migrating down. So that, yes. So for the Purchase Brook culvert, that culvert needs to be replaced. It's a flood hazard issue. It's a transportation issue. It's being undermined. It's not letting fish pass upstream. That was one that I know Charlie was interested in working on as well, but it's going to be really expensive. I'm pretty sure, based on experience doing this in the past and with the new rules for sizing culverts, it's probably going to be a small bridge. I've been working with partners, federal partners like Fish and Wildlife and Forest Service, and they've been providing funding for these projects, but we need to get a design in place so that they can fund them. And with changes in the White House, past changes in the White House have made it so there's less funding to do these kind of projects, but of course, we don't really know what's going to happen moving forward. But we do have access. There are some funds that are being held right now to do these type of projects. So it'd be great if we could get the design done so we could potentially access them for the town of Danby, because I think that bridge would be too expensive. I'm guessing you guys don't want to fund that. So Trout Unlimited volunteered their engineer to do a conceptual or 30% design and all of the site work, all the surveying, and they are going to try and get that done by next spring. And then we wrote a grant to do the next, basically the rest of the design, and it's a pre-proposal. So if it's the Lake Champlain Basin program, and if they like that, the proposal, we'll have to put in a more extensive proposal. So we should hear in January if they're going to want that more extensive proposal. If it does get picked for the more extensive proposal, I think we're pretty much guaranteed funding. So that would finish out the design. And then U.S. Fish and Wildlife has said that they are interested in this project too. So they would help with any gaps in funding for the design, which is great because this is that funding that they're sort of holding right now. And then once we get the design, we would work with you to get it funded. So we would all work on that together, and you guys would be involved every step of the way. So in terms of being informed and making decisions. So far we haven't had we've raised all the funding. We've done a couple projects in Dorset and we've raised the funding. So we're hopeful that the same would be true here. We may have to apply for a V-Trans grant that the town might have to apply for, but that would cover any gaps.
Encouraging. That's great. Anybody have any questions? Now that's exciting because that's been a problem I know that Charlie has identified for a long time and continues to be an issue.
Yeah, and I apologize that, I feel like we could have worked on this more quickly, except that we had this work going on in Dorset, and so there's just only so much bandwidth to sort of go around. But I feel like the partners are kind of shifting. That work's finishing up a little bit, and the partners are kind of shifting focus. And so luckily, they're looking at this crossing and supportive of funding it. So I think that's nice because the bridges can be, they're expensive, as you know.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine that we could put that on our tally right now with everything else going on in town. So that's great.
No, I wouldn't want to see that.
Yeah. Great.
Any other questions or anybody who's super excited about being on our advisory committee? It would be maybe 3 meetings, not that much commitment. And I know for your road, if you have your road foreman, I guess, last time we have provided stipends in the past for them because I know that's helpful for the way that the position's set up.
Well, we'll make sure that somebody from the roads is there. We're in a little transition there, but we'll work on that. And then I'd be happy to join that, but if there's other select board members who are interested, that's fine too. I think I'm of the select board members, I think I'm the one that lives closest to the spot, being that I'm up on Jimtown Road. But if others are interested, we can arm wrestle it out between ourselves. But we'll make sure that we get a select board member there as well.
Okay, I think our first meeting, we're going to have a speaker sort of talking about what towns can do to mitigate some of these effects we're seeing, and it's probably going to be right around the second week of December, but it hasn't been ironed out quite yet. We're working on it.
Right. And there's a remote meeting, so actually, if there's 2 or 3 of us interested, we could all join. Great.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you could join for one meeting, but not the others too, if like the speaker interests you, but you aren't as interested in the planning piece or, whatever, however that works out.
Super, great.
Yeah. Thank you guys for all the time. I really appreciate it. I know that you're busy, and I may hang on for a few minutes. I'd love to hear Bob's update and the hazard mitigation updates. I'll just be quietly in the background for a few more minutes.
You're absolutely always welcome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you.
So
You're
yes,
welcome.
next up, oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody? All right, so next up on our agenda is Bob with as the implementation coordinator. Bob, are you with us?
I am, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
And Bob, I
good.
also sent your document out to people so that, because I know you could share it on the screen, but not everybody's on the computer. So, but everybody, I did send it to you in your inbox, and you could open that if you wanted to follow along with Bob.
Okay, and I sent it again because I didn't see it in what you sent, so apologies for the duplicate there.
Well, I was having trouble, so I'm glad you covered all the bases. That's fine.
Okay, very good. Okay, so, this will be pretty quick today. It's really around, organizing around the new plan, working through all the tasks that have been prioritized. And the first topic here that I have is around this role itself. And I think most of you know I was appointed to the role in 2015. And I talked to Lynn a little bit about this, prior to the meeting. I really feel like it would be great if we could add this role to the annual organizing meeting, that you all have for the select board, where you pick the chairperson, road commissioners, and so forth, just to make it, more formal and, something that, if I don't want to do it anymore or someone else wants to take on, we have more people in the mix here. So what do you all think of that?
I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts. I thought it was a good idea because, we appoint everybody every year, and it makes absolute sense that we should revisit that on an annual basis.
I don't see why the planning commission couldn't hash it out between themselves when they do their organizational meeting.
Well, this is our appointee to the implementation quarter is a select board appointee, not a planning commission appointee.
Doesn't have to be.
Well,
Well, the history of it. The history of it was that when the plan was adopted in 2015, Bob was selected to report to the select board on the progress of the implementation of the plan. And I believe that the planning commission more or less recommended him, and then the select board said, yes, we're appointing him to that position.
Sure, he was recommended, but it's a select board appointee is my understanding.
That's right.
In the actual town plan, there's a whole section on implementation. And, we established the role for the first time, as Brad said, in 2015. In the plan itself, it's pretty clear. It's a select board appointee, but we weren't clear about, should it be refreshed? Should it be revisited? And that's what I'm proposing here.
Yeah.
On an annual basis.
Yeah,
I don't
and
have
I'm
no-
agree that it should be revisited on an annual basis.
I think we should leave it just the way it is and leave Bob in there.
Well,
not-
and he would be until March, and then we would decide whether we would leave him in for another year. So it's just that every year we would redecide, just as we redecide on the other appointed positions.
Yeah,
Right.
because the way it went now was that he had it for the whole length of the plan.
Right.
Well, I'm not opposed to that either. Bob might be. I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like we should open it up for others, right? And there may come a point where I would like to do less, and I'm not ready yet, but I think doing it annually, at least it's out front in person and people know about it.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's why I think it makes sense to do it annually with the other appointees, and then people know what the
Yeah.
role is, and yeah.
Right, and I'd like to see what the planning board has to say about it. If they think it should be yearly or if they think it should be the term of the plan.
This was discussed in the September meeting, Brad. I was on this whole same subject I brought up then, and basically we discussed what we're saying here. I don't think we voted on it, so maybe it needs to be revisited, but it was discussed as a group in September.
And what was the feeling?
Would you like my
Shelley's
input
on
on it?
it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we decided that Bob had a good idea. I think it should be revisited. If not annually, maybe every 3 years, as the planning commission members are appointed every 3 years, each individual one. You know, whichever you decide. We didn't have a problem with it as a planning commission.
Thanks, Shelley.
No problem.
And this plan now goes for more than 5 years, doesn't it?
I think it's
8 years.
Yeah.
So that's a rather long time commitment. I think I would go with a yearly appointment.
It certainly works for the planning commission.
So, and I don't know how you want to do this, Lynn, if you want to vote on each of these pieces, or let me just get through all of this and you can do it collectively. I need probably 5 more minutes here.
Okay.
All right, so the second piece is just, working with the select board moving forward. And, what I'm proposing, the planning commission is now meeting quarterly. My feeling is the town plan needs to keep momentum, a monthly discussion on where we are on the tasks. I'd like to be able to be on the agenda once a month. What I would do, and I'll share with you the kind of the prioritization here that's in the plan. But I would, much like I did with the planning commission over the last 5 years, I would do some preparation work, research. I'd come in with either recommendations, or many of these tasks are big enough that we need subcommittees and others engaged. And the planning commissioners also, when they went to the quarterly schedule, indicated interest in being involved in some of the subcommittees as they come along as well. So as I go through the task and I come to you guys on a monthly basis, I would say this one's a big one. I think we need to get a subcommittee going. Here's what we would work on. I'd reach out to the planning commission and see if they want to join. And it's not mandatory; they can volunteer to participate. And then I could also reach out to the public as well to get engaged in the subcommittees. I would give periodic updates on Front Porch. And then, of course, in the planning commission meetings, I would attend and share what was discussed in the select board and get their feedback on it. And then as part of our plan, I just want to mention that, we need to revisit and look at the plan tasks every year. And we found that's an actual task in the plan, to really dust off what we laid out and revisit it. And, we did that annually in the planning commission, came to the select board, and we made recommendations. This task is no longer valid. Let's add this one. We're done with these. So that's another piece of this whole implementation process as well. And then if you have the document, page 2, what I've done on page 2, 3, and 4 is I pulled out the top priorities for the rest of 20, and then for 2021. And they were prioritized in the plan this way, that, in this time frame, focus on these. On the page 2, these things are all very quick items. Some of them are, like if you look down the next step column, some of these are really just getting reminders out on Front Porch that, on the town website, we have this information available. There are 3 things here. That's something I can take care of on a Saturday, just get it all updated. Some of it is like around energy and natural resources. It's making sure the information that we posted out there from the state and the feds is still current. So again, I could do that, knock it out really quick. One of them here is around, the town office maintaining the renovations. I'm suggesting we break that into two, because that's being done, but there's still improving the grounds, the parking and traffic flow. Maybe break that apart into two tasks. So, all of this stuff on page 2, I can knock out before the next select board meeting. And there are like 15 tasks here that we can close out pretty quickly. And we have a total of around 70 tasks over 8 years that we've laid out. So these are kind of low-hanging fruit I can take care of. And then page 3 and 4, these are all the tasks that I would work with you guys in 2021 on. And when you look at the next steps, they fall into a couple categories. One is all the economic development stuff. The major piece of that is getting in touch with Mount Tabor, trying to form a joint subcommittee with them, and then start tackling all these economic development items we have in the plan. Len, you asked the other day over email to me about the Paul Bruin Historic Revitalization Grant. On page 3, there are a couple opportunities there that I could look into to see if, perhaps that grant could be applied to some of those items. Do you see those on page 3, Len?
Yes.
So I never responded, but those are the ones I'm thinking about.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And then page 4, again, more economic development stuff. This item around encourage broader citizen participation in town government. Lynn, you threw out this idea of welcoming parties for new and current citizens to engage in town activities. So that's something, as a board member of Danby Mountain Tabor Now, I'll bring that to the next board meeting to see if DMT Now would like to sponsor that. So stay tuned there.
Yeah, I might just.
That's really it.
Hold on a second, Bob. I haven't run that by a lot of other people, but just so my fellow board members know, I talked with this with Brad, but I haven't talked with everybody. I'm just aware that there are a lot of new people moving into town, and that it might be good to try to get some sort of remote welcoming or cocktail parties going so that people can meet our new neighbors. Because I am aware that there's been some animosity about new people moving in that maybe have different desires for the town than us. And I just think that if we all get to know each other a little bit, it will lead to healthier discussions for the future. So it's really just it was that kind of idea. And if Bob and maybe Danby Mount Tabor Now can help with that, that would be great, because I have ideas like that, but I am terrible at implementing anything like that. It's not my shtick.
Yeah. Okay, and that's really it. I mean, I think the net of this is, the implementation coordinator role. Let's, renew that annually in your organizing meeting. And then the process moving forward, I'll be on the agenda monthly. I'll work through the priorities for next year, bring ideas, suggest subcommittees when we need them. I'll coordinate with the Planning Commission on a quarterly basis. And that's really, I guess, what I'm asking for you guys to let me know if you agree with or not moving forward.
The question I have is on page 3.
Mm-hmm.
The next to last item under economic development. Where did limited zoning and regulations come from?
I think that's just saying that is, you were at the public hearing we had, Brad, at my house here. And remember
Right.
the workshop that we had, and the folks were talking about there's a lot of really going on that's positive here in Danby, and it's real estate affordability, high speed, the ease of access from Route 7, and then the fact that really we have very little zoning and regulations is attractive to businesses. That's what that means. It's more around.
I just want to be clear that there's no such thing as limited zoning. That's like saying I'm a little bit pregnant.
Yeah. We probably could have worded it better. That's how it was written in the plan.
So it's not advocating limited zoning. What it's really saying is that the businesses are pleased that there is no zoning.
Correct. It makes it easier to work in Danby because of that.
Right. So maybe we could reword that slightly.
Yeah, I will. I'll reword it.
Thank you, Bob.
Sure. That's all I got, Lynn. The rest of the document, the appendix, has the full list of tasks. And, I'll keep those in here just for reference moving forward.
Okay, great. Anybody have any other comments, or are we all in agreement that we want Bob to move forward and we'll hear from him next month?
Yes, sounds good.
Great. And I'm not sure we need to
Great.
vote on that. I think we just welcome Bob next month. That's great. Thank you, Bob. Thanks for keeping the work moving forward. And thank you, Shelley, for all the work of the Planning Commission. And, I know this is tough times with the pandemic to move things forward, but, we'll get it done.
We'll keep working on it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Bob. So Bob, I'm now administrator and you're leading the meeting, right?
I'm going to turn my camera off. I'll leave it on running here, and I'll come back and check on you guys later on. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
All right.
So next up on our agenda is scheduling some budget workshops. And what I'm looking for is to just get some dates on the calendar for all of us to get together, and to extend invitations also to our auditors who might want to join that. It's time to put our budget together so we're ready to present a budget for the town in March. And that has to go to press, I think, by like January 23rd or something. So we really need to get working on it. Doug, our treasurer, has sent out a blank budget sheet, which helps us. It shows the fiscal year 22 that we'll be filling in. It also shows historical numbers and year-to-date numbers so that we have that to work with. And I know he's already started conversations with Larry and Lori about some of the road expenses, and also with Janice about some of the administration expenses to fill in. But and we need Doug at those meetings. So we have to schedule them after taxes, so after the 15th of this month. But I'd love to get at least one date for us to meet initially, and then maybe if we could meet, maybe we meet an hour before our next select board meeting in December. Just meet a little early and work it through there. But I think that we probably need at least 3, maybe 4 meetings to put this to bed. So I'd like to get something on the calendar between now and our December meeting. And Doug has said he's available in the evenings. They would be remote calls in the evenings, probably an hour at a time. Anybody have any thoughts?
No, sounds good to me.
I'll pull up a calendar. Let me look. So, so let's see. Taxes will do on, well, I guess Sunday, so probably Monday is the official date for that. So probably anytime after that.
Taxes are due on the 18th, which is Wednesday.
Oh, thank you. I paid mine today. I was Johnny early, I guess. So the next week is Thanksgiving. What if we tried for something Thursday night, the 19th, for an hour to get us kicked off and started? Could people do that?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. And I'll double check with Doug, but if we can get started for an hour then, and then what we can do is sort of give, what we've done in the past is the areas that we needed to research, we sort of gave individual assignments to, and then we came back with them. And if we, came back with that information on the, at our December meeting, which is, let me check on the date. Our December meeting is when? Is that the 10th?
Yep.
No, 10th, I think I have.
Yep, the 10th.
Yeah. So if we do the 19th and then the 10th, and then if we need to sneak another 1 or 2 in before the end of January, I think we could do that and get it put to bed. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that we could do the 19th, and maybe we could do the 3rd of December for a second one.
Yeah, if we need to, we can do that too. Yeah, let's see how it goes on the 19th, and if we need to sneak another one in there, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that way it'd be before our next board meeting.
Yeah, and then maybe we could even finalize it at that next one. So, but we do have one more meeting in January where we could finalize it too. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. People feel okay about that?
Yep.
So we'll post that we'll do a budget workshop meeting and we'll invite, and the public's invited as well. We always love to have more input into these meetings, and they're remote, so maybe more of the public will be able to join. That would be great. All right, next on our.
I'm sorry, but I just missed like the last 3 minutes. The phone went dead for some reason. So did you pick a date?
We did. We were going to do Thursday, the 19th of November for our first meeting.
Okay.
And we'll try to keep it to an hour and have that first meeting then.
And that's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, and I'll get out contact information for it. And I was just saying
Thank
that,
you.
that we'll do it remotely and that the public is absolutely welcome. We'll get it warned and great. So moving on, the next thing on our agenda was the request, and that is removed from our agenda. So the next is the hazard mitigation proposals. Let me pull up. So just to remind people, in the past, our hazard mitigation plans have been done by the Rutland Planning Commission, and they've done a terrific job. This year, it was decided that that towns the planning commissions just didn't do that for towns. There was an RFP process. So we issued a request for proposals, and we published that, and we have received 3 proposals. We actually, a 4th one was trying to come in, and we could not open it. It came in electronically, and we could not open it. We sent off 2 requests asking them to send it in a different format so we could open it. We've never been able to, they didn't respond. So at this point, I think we just have to table that one. So we have 3 proposals, and the reason that you all don't have copies is that they were very lengthy, and Janice didn't feel she could scan them and get them to you. So I have opened them just a few minutes before this meeting started, and I can summarize them. If we're not comfortable going forward based on what I'm reporting, that's fine. We could revisit. I could leave copies at the town hall, whatever. But essentially, we have 3 proposals. As I read them, they all essentially are giving basically the same timeline, which is not a surprise because our plan expires on such and such a date, and we have to have a new one by such and such a date. And so they're all following those dates. And really, one did say they'd start in December, one said they'd start in January, but the end date for all of them is by the time that the proposal is due. Hold on, Washington, D.C., which is just a robocall, right? So anyway, the timeline is the same for all of them. Essentially, the steps that each are doing and what will go into building the plan are essentially the same for all of them. It's a planning process, and the steps are pretty formulaic. Really, the only difference I found in looking through the proposals, well, one, and if you had your screen, you can see one is very glossy and fancy. The others are not as glossy and fancy, but really the big difference, I think, comes down to cost. And we have Seam Solutions out of Barry, and again, it's a solid proposal. Although I think somebody with a lot of years of experience with V-Trans works, but I'm not sure a lot of experience with hazard mitigation particularly. But their proposal comes in at $8,800 plus an additional $200 for data storage and security. So we're looking at $9,000. A second proposal from Upstate Regrowth. This one came in at 10. Well, let me just double check. I'm pretty sure it was, I know it was $10,000, but it might be 10,000 and change. Yes, it was 10,000. And we had said in RFP that we had up to 10,000. The Rutland Planning Commission has come in at 77,000. Hold on, let me get the exact number. Not 77,000, 7,700, 760730. And they have said that they will help us keep track of volunteer time, the other people that work with them, so that we can count that towards our 25% match. So it's great to have 3 proposals. Any thoughts or any questions on them that I can answer? I'm sorry that you all don't have them in front of you, but my own thought is that the Planning Commission, one of this is that all the steps that they outline are the same, and they're putting together a team of people to work on the plan. And the Planning Commission has done this for us before, and they already have the relationships with those people. And I think that's probably why they can deliver a little lower price. And I think there's a lot to be said for relationship, is my own thought. Anybody else have some thoughts?
I think
I
we ought to
think
let them.
we have the planning commission do it.
Yes, I think so too.
All right, so that was Steve and Doug.
Yep.
So Steve, could I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, so Doug's making a motion to award the contract to the Planning Commission,
I'll second it.
and Steve's seconding it. Great. Any further discussion? All right, I'll be happy to. So all in favor of the motion, I've got to get back to my list of roll call because we're remote. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Paul? Yes? Brad?
Yes.
Doug? Steve?
Yes.
And Lynn, yes. All in favor? Great. All right. Let me find our agenda again. Give me a minute. There we are. Next up is our road commissioners report.
All right, I'm just gonna run over a few things here so we don't drag things on here. We're wrapping up our road grading. We had our wonderful snowstorm here a week and a half ago, which kind of stopped things, and as we got started in final grading of some of the potholes, and then the grader ended up and broke down with electronic problems with the starter and solenoids and stuff. Well, we got that fixed, and so now we're continuing. Looks like we got another week or so of halfway decent weather. Our winter sand supply, at least for the first part of the year, is in all the storage space that we've got. And also the electronic speed sign that is going to be going on South Main, the post is in, and we just got to on Sunday get down there, put it on, and we're going to have, I talked with Bob. He said he would help us with the electronic part of it. It has to be done by a phone, and I don't have the capabilities of doing that. Bob said he'd be more than glad to help us out. That comes with instructions and everything. And Bob also had another idea. If we don't get donations for the second speed sign, if this one happens to work out, maybe just put a post on the north end of town up by prior to the school, and we can move the speed sign back and forth until we can get enough donations to purchase a second one. And which sounds like a good idea. Well, let's see if this one works on South Main, because nothing else is working, because people are still flying down, well, all of our roads. So, and the other thing is, I've called several times to the sheriff's department I know they can't be everywhere at once, but we're getting speeding and reckless driving every part of town. I don't care if it's the main roads, back roads. And so I've been getting in touch with Justin. I've been in touch with Dave Fox because we just got a problem up here on Corey Hill with Roland Harold delivery guy. I mean, the guy just will not slow down. And so the speedings, I'm hoping we can budget in another 10 hours. And that'll be one of my things that I'd like to put forward and work out for the budget so we can get at least another 10 hours, double the time that we got now for patrols here in town. I believe coming up on the agenda, this is part of it, is the discussion on calibrating the salt metering on the trucks. I am not 100% sure how that's done on these trucks, and I believe there's two different types on the two different brands of trucks. So I'm willing to take any information from anybody that has sources to have somebody come in that can show us how to calibrate these salt distributor on the trucks, because that would help us out. Right now, that's about all I got.
You should go down and talk to the Pollock crew, because they got that little truck all calibrated, so they put down 250 pounds to the mile. And I think Timoth's got their tandems calibrated.
Yeah, well,
so,
yeah, that's a good idea, but they had to go someplace and have somebody come in, and that's what I, find out who it is, and have them come in and calibrate them, and then, basically let the people know well, I can't say the ins and outs, but explain to them what it is. That's the best way, is a hands-on. I'd rather not take it from secondhand source from Paula or Timoth. I know they're doing it and probably doing it well, but whoever they had come in, whether it's somebody from the state or whatever, it can't be that big of an expense, and maybe it don't cost nothing. Just have them come in and show us how and why, and it works. I'm all in favor of that.
Well, maybe we can call them and just as you say, we can at least ask them, who taught them how, since we need to learn how.
Right, yeah. I think Paul had that small truck set up with hydraulics or something, so it tells you right in the truck what you're putting on.
So, Doug, does that mean we might have to invest a little bit in making it happen?
Yeah, if we do we can save more than it's going to cost us to have it done.
Yeah,
because
no,
we're wasting a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree that if it's money well spent to save money later, then that's something we should do. Plus, too much salt on the roads isn't good environmentally, and we want to. So Paul, will you make calls to see if you can find out who that is?
Yeah, I will. I don't know the people involved, but I'm probably sure can. Or if Doug's familiar with the people we get in touch with, maybe he can get a name, and like either Doug or myself can get in touch with them to come to the town and show us what and how to do it.
That'd be great. Thanks.
I just don't want to get to the point where Wallingford did one year, and this wasn't just with salt, it was with sand, is dictating one area you're only allowed to put so much on. Once you're out, and that don't work.
No.
It's got to be, it's common sense basically. But if we can get them calibrated and cut back 10-20% on our salt use, that'd be fantastic.
I bet we'll cut
Or
back
more.
more than that. I bet we'll cut back a lot more than 10 or 20%.
Well, I just threw them figures out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it'll help.
And I just want to say for anybody who might be listening or for the record that we want to cut back provided that we're still absolutely being safe for people. We feel that there's
Yeah.
room to do both. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety's
All right,
number
great.
one priority.
Always. So the next thing, though, we were going to talk a little bit about was exploring the transfer station relocation. Oh, wait, but before we go there, I do want to say that I have to tell you that I support Paul as he's saying that we might need a sheriff for more time.
Yeah.
I walk to the end of my road most evenings just for exercise. And there's hardly an evening when I don't have a car passing me at the end of Jimtown Road at 60, 65 miles an hour, coming up over that hill. I mean, and I've had times when I've been pulling out with my horse and trailer where I've just almost been nailed. Of course, most often it's by the FedEx driver, but it's also other drivers as well.
No, he got fired.
Yep. Dave's gone.
Yeah, might be a good
But
thing.
what I've been telling the people that have complained to me, and I've been getting them from everywhere, is the main thing is get a description of the car and try, if you possibly can, a license plate. And then that'll go directly to the sheriff, and they will, I know they do, they personally will go talk to them. This has happened before, but I know a lot of times you can't. So, like I said, I had a description roughly of from the three people that complained on my hill, because this guy's coming through at 5:30 in the morning, and it's just careless, negligent, and speed. And two of the people have actually stopped him and got into a confrontation with him. And the last person I talked to said, I'm going to end up going to jail because I'm going to beat the snot out of it. And that's what the point is. So I called into the sheriff, and I also called the Rutland Herald. And a lot of times it don't do any good, but a lot of times, you got to do what you got to do. We can't do what we did in the old days, and I've done it myself, is gone out and stopped them at shovel point or gunpoint. You do it now, or you're going to go to jail. But, that's why we got to have the legal system is got to take care of these. And I also informed Dave Fox, and I asked him about these, if they have to give a warning first. And I don't know if I brought this up the last meeting. He says, no, they don't have to. And I said, well, my own recommendation is until this gets under control, and it's not just Danby, it's everywhere. Yeah. And is stop the warnings and start nailing them with fines right off the bat. Yep. Until, things get settled down where people realize they can't do this.
Yeah. And
Loretta's had 3 incidents already on a school bus that drivers going through the red light. Yeah. So, it's more and more dangerous every day out there. It's getting to the point where, you're taking your life in your own hands. So we've got to get more sheriff patrols, or I know state police don't handle a lot of it, or won't handle a lot of it. So we got to rely on local sheriffs.
Yeah. I think it might come down to needing to budget more for sheriff, because the reality is that 10 hours a week, when they're also covering thefts or domestic complaints or any number of other things, it leaves very little time for traffic control. And we need more traffic control, clearly, is what we're hearing from the public. And if other people...
And we'll get more traffic on our back roads now.
Yeah.
With the shortcuts and more people moving into town.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Yep. Then there's another thing we got to do too. Down there by at Raymond Road, where you come off in 7, go up up to where you go up by Halley's, up by George Raymond's farm.
Yep. Yep.
Tractor trailer jackknife there today. We got to put signs up down. No tractor trailer trucks on that road.
Where were they headed?
That
Where were they headed, Doug?
they was coming up. You know where off 7, you go up that
Yeah.
shortcut up to Raymond Road. You go up past Abbott Farm,
Yeah.
Ken Abbott's, and on that corner by George Raymond's. He jackknifed there, headed back up over the hill by Staples. So he had to unload the whole load, and then get all straightened out, then load it back on again.
What the hell are they hauling?
So some kind of stone. She told me today. I said, "Wow, I think the best thing to do, we got to get some signs down there, and no tractor trailer trucks on that road."
Huh. We shouldn't have any on any of the back roads.
No.
I mean, even Danby Timoth or the Danby Hill Road, which we do.
Right.
But I mean, they shouldn't be allowed on dirt roads unless they got a permit. I don't know how the hell we can regulate it.
I don't
Without
know.
having plaster and signs all over, but it's totally idiotic. I mean, who the hell would attempt to even?
I think that whoever it was on that GPS, and just that's where it took him.
That's it. Everything leads back to these GPSs. They're tuned to bringing them the shortest distance.
Yeah.
They
So
don't
I
tell
think
them yeah.
and she said that tied up that road for a long time today. And she thought he was going to tip over there on the ditch.
Yeah, that's a bad corner to take with a regular vehicle.
But when we would say no tractor trailers there, it would be no through traffic tractor trailers. If somebody had a tractor trailer coming in to deliver a load of wood to build a house, that would be a different story, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, at least they should be aware of what the hell the road is before. I mean,
no,
that's
before
like
they head
when
up
they were. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hate putting more signs up on the roads, but damn, it's these idiot drivers and these GPSs that are causing a lot of these problems on. Yeah.
I don't know what the hell else we can do. Do you?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Do we know what?
On our Corey Hill Road, once they can't read the sign that says it's in French and English to go to the quarry to the right, and we end up with them day after day up here that just say, and the first thing when you stop them, it's GPS. Maybe they're not even looking at the signs.
They'll have to get signs made up with pictures of a tractor trailer with an X going through it. Maybe they'll understand that. Oh.
Do we know who this company was that had the truck that jackknifed?
No, I don't. She didn't say.
Because I'm wondering if it would be worth our while to send a letter to all the people that have fleet permits explaining that don't pay attention to your GPS.
I would probably say if it's a one-time deal, it's probably, you don't even worry about a fleet permit.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I was going to say our fleet permits are all local contractors and fairly local people for the most part. I think that this is coming from people who are through traffic on their way through, and I'm wondering about signs on all these roads that say no through traffic for for tractor trailers.
Right. And
Hollywood. I'm seeing more of these no through truck signs on my back road travel in here over the past year. A lot of towns, not around the state and even New Hampshire, are posting no through trucks. But whether they keep them off, I don't know. I don't know if it does. We can try it.
Well, and some of them say about don't follow your GPS too. I've seen that.
Yeah, they got the orange signs that said this is not a GPS route. but are they
Right.
still following it? I mean, I
Yeah.
ordered a couple, and I'm not sure if they came in for Danby Hill Road to start with. And I hate plastering more signs up along the way, but this
No.
uh,
What else?
this is getting more prevalent with these. I call them idiot drivers. You know, they come into the area, especially now with all the new people in, and the people who are building the log cabin up above you, Doug. They had 3 tractor trailers. Instead of going up
Yeah.
the Brook Road with logs, they went up Danby Hill Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So
I don't know. See,
yeah, and I even talked to Keith at the quarry, and I said, these trucks, you gotta know these tractor trailers are coming, so you know who you're going to be loading. And he claims that he's not. And we have this problem. It's coming up here now with the winter time. Is we have 2 to 3 trucks a year on the average that come up here with no snow tires on, and they end up getting stuck right
Yeah.
there on the Griffith Hill.
Leave
And
them
I
there.
finally told Keith. I told Keith up there, I said, we are not sending our loader up and interfering with our road crew to get your idiot drivers. And I asked the one guy one day, I said, where's your chains? And he's like, what chains? Well, there he is. He's burned all, he blocked the traffic. We couldn't get up or down the hill. So I said to Keith, I said, you're going to have to bring your loader down because we're not hauling our road crew off, taking care of our roads to get these idiot drivers. And he claims they don't know who's coming, which I do not believe. They've
They
got
know
to
they
have an itinerary of the trucks that are coming to pick up certain blocks. But that's my problem on the hill up here. So I don't know. I don't know what we can do. It's getting worse all the time.
Everything's getting worse.
You got that right, Doug.
I second that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's, that was a good conversation and we'll keep pondering it and maybe talk to other towns and try to find out more about what other people are doing. But let's maybe move on to where we are with our transfer station relocation. And mostly I put that on the agenda as I talked to Paul, looking for a way to get something, maybe some dates set to really start some discussions and just make sure that we're moving that forward.
I
So,
reached
Paul,
out tonight again to Mark. I couldn't get a hold of Seth. Seth did try to get in touch with me back, a month or so ago, and I just didn't have time with everything going on. And so I just left a message with Mark and saying that whenever we can get at least 2 from over there and 2 to 3 of us to just go down and look over what's down there. But like I told you, Lynn, today, as I said, at least they're willing to talk about it now, which
Right.
they didn't before.
so
That's a plus.
I was thinking, let's put together a team of us that are going to meet with them. And Steve, as Paul and I were talking about it, we thought about you because you're our representative to the solid waste district. Would you be willing to put yourself out there to meet with Paul and the folks from there to I think the first step is to look at the site, see if we conceptually come to an idea of what it should be. And then I think we need to come up with solid costs for what it's going to cost, because we're going to really have to negotiate a deal. And that's going to be a little bit of a lengthy process, but I think we need to have a solid vision of a solid shared vision. So that's the first step, I think, is to find out if we have a shared vision of what it could look like and be to serve both towns. And then we need to put some numbers to that vision, which maybe the Planning Commission could help us with. And then, then we need to sit down and say, okay, these are the numbers. We have to negotiate terms with the other town. But I want to get us moving on this because I think it's a great idea and they're interested and we're interested, and I think it would benefit us all.
I agree. Are you willing, Steve?
Yeah, I'm willing.
Okay. I'll
right.
reach out again. Like I said, I left a message with Mark, and I imagine he's been busy logging and stuff. And And I know Seth and all these contractors, electrical and stuff, are right out straight and booked for the next 6 months. So it's kind of hard with them folks, but we'll try to get a meeting set up and where we can at least get down and look at the site. I did with Mark pretty much, and we kind of roughed it out a little bit, which was a good idea. With we don't have to, down there the way it's set up, we don't have to come in and go out in the same roadway. We can actually have a drive-through like they do in Wallingford. You come in on the entrance that's there now, and then you just make a half a circle and come back out onto Route 7 just south of there, which, you know, is a ideal situation set up. So we ain't got traffic heading toward each other or waiting, and make it a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Well, and let folks know that we'll really work to accommodate them if they can give us, an hour of their time. It can be early morning, late evening. We'll figure it out. If Steve can't be there, we'll take notes and bring it back to Steve to get his comments. But let's see if we can really get this thing moving.
Okay.
Cool, great. Let's see what else we have on our agenda. We're to the part of public comment, and except for Hillary sticking with us, thank you, Hillary. we don't have any public to comment. Does it?
I was just going to say good night, so maybe I'll say that now. Good night, everybody, and thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you, Hillary. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night.
And so that then brings us to any other business to come before the board.
Well, the public comments here, you know we had 116 new COVID
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
164 today, 70 some odd yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Close the borders.
I'm
Close
painfully
thing up.
aware. Yeah. Yeah. It's so, I have a lot of information about that because Gary's handling everything for the university. And yeah, I mean, the numbers are reflecting what's happening. And, with cold weather coming, it was kind of predictable. And with an influx of, we had tourists and we had hotels and bars opened. And yeah, it's.
And schools.
And schools, and look at, a lot of those cases are from the Montpelier area where that hockey team was. I guess I would just encourage people that, the other thing that I'm hearing is that it has a lot to do with family units, that it's not, the really big events aren't happening because, they're not supposed to happen. And for the most part, people are complying, but we're about to head into, Thanksgiving. And then Christmas and just family gatherings can really imperil the health of people. So yeah, let's all try to be careful and try to protect one another and keep being good about wearing masks, because when we wear masks we protect everybody.
And then they said tonight on the news that the mask even protects the people who's wearing them.
Huh? It's got to help a little, yeah. But I hadn't heard that latest. I'll have to listen to that. What did you hear?
It was on the news tonight.
Great. Great.
So that's good news.
Yeah. And
Well, I know one thing. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm so sick of smelling that smell of the mask on the inside, and it just drives me nuts. But you got to do it. I mean, it's,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's better than what else could happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's better than
like wearing the seatbelt. I was totally against it, just out of being stubborn back years ago, and by lugging the grandkids around, they finally set me straight. Now I don't leave the dooryard without a seatbelt. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen here. Everybody starts wearing a mask, and hopefully this thing will get contained.
Yeah, there's
Hopefully.
good news on the vaccine front. If people are willing to have a vaccine, it does sound like they've had some breakthroughs, and that's great. It's still not going to happen right away. And so the best way in the meantime to protect everybody is to wear masks. And yeah, and I thank everybody in town who has been doing so, and the businesses that have been very, good about that. There are some businesses in town that I feel really good going to because I know that they're enforcing it, and I know I feel safe going, and I'm very grateful to those businesses.
And I also comment on the veterans thing on last Saturday. I was there and they had a fairly big crowd, and there was not one person there that was at the event that didn't have a mask on.
Yay!
So that was, yeah, including myself.
That's
and I
great.
was
And I
across
also
the street.
Yeah, and I also want to thank the organizers of that event. It's wonderful that we take the time in town to mark the service of those, and it's wonderful.
That's why he made it all public places has to wear masks whether they like it or not. They don't wear masks, they don't enter.
Yep.
That's smart. So,
All right, any other comment tonight, or anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the
I
motion.
make a motion. I'll second it.
All right, Doug and Paul. I guess we have to do the roll call. So, Doug?
Yeah.
Don't Paul first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went out of order. I didn't get
I
back,
waited for you online tonight.
get
Yes.
back to my page. There we go. Here we go. Paul,
Yes.
Doug, Brad, I mean.
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve. Steve, are you willing to adjourn? He may have already adjourned. Anyway, I'm willing, and we'll put him as a blanco. All right. It sounds like all are in favor of adjourning, and thank you, everybody. And so we're going to be meeting on the 19th, looking at the budget.